You guys all read the script, right?
Lana, Ramon vouches for them. I vouch for him.
These three were my best friends.
Fuck those guys.
Everybody love everybody!
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Vouch for Me. The movie of the week is Dune 2021. I have with me...
Just do that every time you say Dune.
Why the fuck are you so good at it? Dude, by the end of this career, by the end of all this, we're gonna get you a voice acting career. And then me and PapaNasty can say that we knew you once. Oh my god.
I could just narrate movie trailers or something. But I could be like the sound effects movie trailers or something like that.
You're gonna acapella it. Today I have with me the human soundboard, Abraham Lincoln.
Hello there.
And then the human stud muffin, PapaNasty.
Hello.
Yeah. So we ended up watching Dune. This was actually PapaNasty's pick this week. We did Dune 2021. This one's going to be a two-parter. We're going to do the first one today, and then next week we'll do part two. What's funny is PapaNasty was like, let's just skip part one. Let's go straight to part two. That's where the meat is. That's where the action is. It was kind of insane. We had to talk him into doing this one.
There's like a lot of understanding part two is set up in part one, though. It's kind of necessary.
It's a necessary evil. How'd you find Dune in the first place, PapaNasty?
Oh, well, it was during the COVID times the movie was released, and we were just hanging out doing a movie night, and my buddy's old roommate was like, hey, we should watch Dune. And it had Jason Momoa, it had Thanos in there, it had fucking...
Poe Dameron.
Yeah, Poe Dameron, and we're like... at first, my reaction was, oh, this is going to be stupid. Like, okay, whatever, we'll watch it. It's his fucking turn. And watching, I was the most into it. And I've probably rewatched that movie at least a dozen times. Dune, yeah.
Nice. Okay. When you initially did want to do the second one before the first one in a way, is that because of just like the action in the second one? The first one's build up? What is it that drove you?
Well, the second one is newer. And it was just one of those things just to get people's more attention, and then we can go back and do the first Dune. But
cool.
But it was just more of like, it's a newer film. Let's try reviewing newer films that people have seen recently, and we can just get like draw more attention.
We got to get the Star Wars of our time, the Lord of the Rings of our time, if you will, as people are calling it.
The source of like almost every sci-fi trope for like the last like 5 decades.
Speaking of tropes, and I want to hear your relationship with Dune, Abel, because I feel like before you even saw or read Dune, you probably were familiar with so many of the tropes.
I had come to heard of it in passing a few times, just from browsing TV tropes and just like random tidbits whenever I'd like watch stuff on Star Wars and hear like just little factoids like this was probably from Dune or something. Then I remember when the trailer came out for the movie and I thought it looked interesting. So at some point I decided I wanted to read the book, and I put it off for the longest time, but I eventually finished it. I wanted to at least finish it before part 2 came out. Yeah, it was really good. Kind of dry and a little political in places, but yeah, the world building is like immaculate. Everything's just like super interesting.
Very well thought out, yeah.
The general like idea is, the general interpretation is that Dune is like a warning to readers to like, the lesson is like, don't fall for charismatic messiah like leaders, or just don't fall for charismatic leaders just because they tell you everything you want to hear, because then they'll lead you on a holy war to commit genocide across the universe. And they kind of omitted some of the more like Middle Eastern and Islamic influences in the book, because in the book they just straight up call it a jihad.
Holy crap. Yeah, I had no idea how blatant it was in the book. But yeah, we'll have to dig into it more just in terms of the blending of cultures and everything. Yeah, I guess my first experience with Dune was just knowing that it existed strictly because in our hometown at the museum, they had a Dune exhibit, a very small one. They had like an homage in the corner, and it had something to do with David Lynch being from the Washington area, which is why what inspired Twin Peaks and everything.
I was gonna say, I didn't even know that. I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, that's the deep cut. There's like a random little exhibit over there. But the funny thing is finding out David Lynch was affiliated with the first movie, and then finding out that David Lynch was so ashamed of how it came out. He wanted his name taken off of the final cut. And so this was the opportunity for them to do it the way it should have been done. And so I'm glad that you guys proposed we watch this, because digging in deep, I realized there's so much meat in this sandwich, so much bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes to this damn thing.
So, vouchers. Eric just watched the fucking film.
Yeah, I've just seen Dune. I knew nothing about it, and I haven't watched the second one yet. I want to be in the dark. I do have some speculations about what's going to happen in the second one, but of course we can talk about that more as we dig into it.
Yeah. So when you watch without going too much detail, what were your thoughts of the opening scene when it's like, son? You're like, what the heck is going on here?
I probably watched like 20 minutes of the movie, then I had to pause it and then watch a YouTube video on what the hell the politics of the movie were so I could actually enjoy it properly.
You called me because you're like, so I like researched the movie, but I need some clarification on things.
Yeah, literally. I had make phone calls. I was like, someone please walk me through this. I was like, is this happening on the same planet? Or they're different planets? What the fuck
There's
am I
like
doing
a million
here?
planets.
There's a million planets. That's that much I figured out. Now I feel like I have a deeper understanding of it and just a general fascination for the movie. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about it here in just a sec. The best thing about this movie, in my opinion, is this book was written or at least published in the 60s.
I think it was written in the late 50s.
So written in the late 50s, I think it was posted in the 60s. Definitely a lot of sci-fi was influenced by this book. But one thing, because this trope wasn't tired yet, is he is allowed to be the quote-unquote chosen one. He gets to have all of the coolest fucking powers ever. I love that about Paul Atreides. That is so sick. Did you know that he even had mentat training as a kid?
Yeah.
That's insane. He literally has all the coolest powers.
Yeah, he's by intention supposed to be like just busted as fuck, the most powerful person in the entire series.
Yeah, dude, he's OP. He's Meta Knight in Brawl. He's SS plus T S plus.
He's like the Avatar Last Airbender for the Dune world. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's trained by the finest trained soldiers in the Imperium. Gurney Halleck and Duncan, Idaho. He's got Bene Gesserit powers because of his mother, Lady Jessica. He has mentat training, so he's basically incredibly intelligent.
His dad is actually wildly supportive of him, so he has like great emotional support. And so even though later he starts to slip, at least as much as I have seen, he still has he still has the desire to lead. He still has the makings, the strappings of a leader.
In the book, Duke Leto was quite aware of like how the Harkonnen trap was going to play out, and he almost managed to pull off making a contingency work, but he just didn't have enough time and did not account for a certain variable.
I think it's time to start. We're hinting at a few things we want to talk about. Let's go ahead and start digging into it, guys. I'll go ahead and do some production stuff, and then I'll let you take it away, PapaNasty, for telling the story. But of course, this is Dune. It was released in 2021. Originally, they were going to do it in 2020, but COVID times definitely changed things. This movie was directed by Denis Villeneuve. He's a Canadian gentleman. He graduated the University of Quebec of Montreal. And it's sick because he's done some great movies, and I didn't even realize. He did Blade Runner 2024. He did Arrival, which I think is one of the coolest movies of all time.
Sicario,
which I heard about so much, and now I have to go back and watch it.
I love that movie. It makes me uncomfortable, but I love it.
Pretty much every movie he's touched, he has gotten great reviews on all of his movies. So he was a hell of a choice. And then, of course, getting the all-star cast. Absolute all-star cast. It's insane how many people are in this movie, just like doing Batman back in the day. They just only picked incredible quality actors.
Speaking of which, I need to see Arrival at some point because I heard some of his fans say Arrival is his best movie.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, is it the one with Amy Adams?
And Jeremy Renner, yeah.
Yep. It gives it everything you want. You even get a little plot twist in there as well, and then you're a little mind fucked.
Yeah, Arrival's good.
We'll definitely have to do that one at some point. But we got our boy Timothy Chalamet. We got Rebecca Ferguson, who did anybody recognize her from anything?
She plays the villain Rose the Hat in Doctor Sleep, which is the Shining sequel.
Sick. Okay.
Spoiler.
Oscar Isaac, who I didn't recognize from anything.
What?
He's Poe Dameron from Star Wars.
He's also
Oh.
Apocalypse. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Apocalypse
Oh,
and-
see, thank you. That's how I was trying to figure this out.
He's Spider-Man 2099.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Josh Brolin, and then he's Thanos,
Thanos.
right?
Thanos. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
No Country for Old
Cable.
Men.
No Country for Old. Yep. Good fucking film.
Ooh, okay. Oh, Dave Bautista. That one's wild.
Who's that?
Thanos!
Yeah, why does he just look
Hamas?
like
Is that what you just said, Abel?
I said
Oh,
Thanos.
he said Hamas. I'm like, whoa.
I thought he said hummus. I was like, what's going on?
Like
That's
regular
wild.
show. Hummus. Hummus.
What the hell? And then, of course, Zendaya. There's a lot more others. Jason Momoa. There's just too many to name, honestly. This is insane.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Who is that? That's a name I saw.
So he played like physicist doctor from Thor, and he was also in Loki, or not Loki, Avengers.
Oh, cool. Okay. Dang, yeah.
He was in Mamma Mia, I think.
There we go. Now you're speaking my language.
He's in a lot of things, honestly. He's got a bunch of sons who are actors. Like one of his sons was in The Northman, Alexander Skarsgård. And then you got Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise. He was in John Wick 4.
Dang, yeah, they're on top. Yeah, okay. He's got the talent in house. So this movie cinematography was done by Greg Fraser, name I've never heard before, but he did the cinematography for The Mandalorian. Also, a few different films, including Rogue One. So I thought that was hella
That
fascinating.
explains why the season 1 of Mandalorian was just so much better.
And then here is the trivia bit that I thought was really cool. Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie. Did you
course.
know that he's basically only been doing Christopher Nolan films for the last 15 years and that he chose to do this movie over Tenet?
Whoa.
Yeah, that makes sense. I read that like one of his, I think the composer for Tenet was like one of his like proteges or something, because you can hear a little bit of his influence in Tenet's
Oh, yeah.
soundtrack.
Oh yeah, they always got to get the proteges in.
You got to get Hans Zimmer light. Great value, Hans
Yeah.
Zimmer.
Great. Yeah, we got Hans Zimmer at home. Yeah. Classic. All right. Well, I have a few more things but I'll sprinkle it in throughout the way when we start digging into production. PapaNasty, if you want to take us away with the opening scene.
Yes. So we get the opening scene of Zendaya narrating as they have the attack. They're going through like the Arrakis history. The Furman are attacking the Harkonnens, and it's pretty interesting seeing how they're taking them
Talking
down.
about the oppression of the people.
The oppression of the people.
Can you do a Zendaya impression?
No,
Oh,
just a little bit that I remember reading was a nice detail was she talks about saving her people from oppressors, and what happens right after they say that? The scene cuts right to Paul.
Ooh. Yes. That's I feel like that's no accident kind of
Yep.
thing. But they're digging into so can you walk me through that too? Because that's what kind of confuses me. The Harkonnens were the original oppressors as well. Like they're the ones that harvested the spice,
Yeah,
etc.
they are in control of spice production and mining on Arrakis.
But then one day they left? I don't
the Emperor
understand that.
ordered them to.
yeah.
He's handing it over to the Atreides.
Oh, so the period of time between them leaving and the Atreides showing up is probably just a
It's
matter
a very,
of months.
very short amount of time. Yeah.
Because the way the power structure goes, like the Emperor, and then it would go like the Harkonnen, and then it would go like Leto, the Atreides, and then all the other
Atreides.
houses. And so it was one of those things. Doing that to the Harkonnens was like a major like finger and pushing Leto up because Leto was getting all the support from the houses. And there's a lot more like from the book. There's a lot more lore to it and more of the politics side, right, Abel? That they don't really.
It's a setup to try and fuck Leto. It was a setup to try and get him killed. It's a conspiracy the Emperor had with the Harkonnens because the Atreides were rising in both political power and military power, and he saw them as a threat to his rule.
Yeah, there's a lot more behind the scenes of politics stuff that the book dives deep into, but they don't really express it in the film. Which, you know, but it's a 2.5 hour film. They would have to be like 4 hours.
I was gonna mention earlier, like part of the reason why like David Lynch Dune was so bad is because a lot of fans like to describe Dune as being borderline impossible to adapt because there's so many like details and intricacies to Dune's narrative that like you cannot condense it all into a 2-hour film. That's why this movie had to get condensed into 2.5-hour films. And even then, they still left out a lot of shit.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Some of it important, some of it is like, what the fuck is this?
For the most part, a lot of this you have to interpret. It's like watching fucking Game of Thrones, unless you take a step back and you look into the source material. Because, like you were saying, you know, they dig into the Harkonnens right at the gate, and then post that they introduce you to the Atreides.
Yeah, like immediately after Zendaya's talking about like she was like, who will oppress our people next? It cuts right next to Paul. Who will be our next oppressor? And it cuts right to Paul Atreides sleeping,
Who will
waking
be
up
our
in
next
his bed.
oppressor? You decide.
Oh, shit, that's fucking good. Oh, fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, they introduced the Atreides. I want to hear about that, PapaNasty.
Yes, we got Paul then dreaming of Arrakis and Zendaya, which was we've all had those dreams.
Tom Holland.
Teardrops.
And then he has his he's has a rough night. He's having breakfast with his mom. That's when we see his first training with his mom. She's telling him to practice the voice, and he's like, no, like he's tired. He does it. Was it too forced? And
Yeah.
we see it.
But then he does it. He actually pulls it
It
off.
works, but yeah, she says he needs to work on his like inflection because he needs to be able to do it like that.
What'd you guys think about the voice itself? Because this is the first. I don't know. They probably showed it in the old one, but this is the voice. It's gonna be this way for the rest of the series.
I think it was kind of the same. They just like increased the volume and reverbed it a little bit. I think that's what, because I saw Paul use a voice in the original movie.
Cool.
It was a clip I saw on Twitter.
Well, my
Classic.
my girlfriend is Mexican or Latina, so I get the voice all the time. So
I was gonna say, yeah.
I hear it every other day. You'll not do the dishes. That sounds more Italian.
Yeah.
That was Italian. Why'd that go Italian?
That was
terrible.
That's not Italian.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat you now.
Go do the dishes. And then you're like, okay.
My car it's a piece of shit, but you drive it.
Yeah, I know. This is not a rush. What are we doing? Abel, I want you to lead this. Show us the way.
I am Paul Matib Atreides. I am the one who points the way. All right.
They're at dinner or they're at breakfast.
Yeah, he's having breakfast with his mother, training him to use the voice. Tells her that he's been having dreams, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he tells the Bene Gesserit woman later.
Yeah,
Anyways,
he's been having wet dreams, yeah.
he's been having strange dreams. Yeah, he's been having strange dreams where he thinks he might see the future because he could tell it's Arrakis. He's been studying up on Arrakis before they go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we're introduced to Leto, right? Right after that.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's having a heart-to-heart with Paul at the cemetery of the previous.
Yeah, talking about like their big move to Arrakis. They have that whole big ceremony where the Emperor's messenger comes and tells him like, "Hey, you're going to Arrakis. Will you agree to this?" And Paul says it's a political, or not Paul. Leto knows it's a political play. They have to say yes to this. They can't back down from the Emperor's orders, and they know full well what it means.
Ooh, so does that mean we got the scene of them showing up to give the order, quote unquote?
Yeah.
It's more of an offering. It's like, will you accept this? And he's like, and it's a really cool scene because
There is no call we don't answer.
it's a really cool scene if you pause it and you look at each character's like their reaction. Like Lady Jessica, she's really nervous. You can see it in her face that like she's not overly nervous, but you see it. You see Gurney is pissed off like usual. Leto is
I am smiling.
being stoic, and then Paul's like, still probably thinking about Zendaya.
Leto even asks Hawat, like, how much money do you think it cost them for this formality to come all the way out here? And then he does like a little computation and rolls his eyes back for a second. And then he like tells them like, yeah, it cost them a fuck ton of money just to come here. Like they could have just gave us a phone call type of deal.
The idea was to make it an offer you can't refuse.
Basically,
right?
like by having this whole formality thing go on, like there is no way he can back down or refuse this order.
And they're all uncomfortable.
Ooh,
They're all uncomfortable. They smell the trap, but they still take it or accept it.
Because they have to. They have to.
What I want to walk through really quick is this is when you really begin to get introduced to some really cool freaking costumes, because you got the Atreides costumes, which like, they look a little bit historical, if
They
you
look
will.
kind of militaristic.
Yeah, militaristic, historical, but then you got their garbs when those guys show up and they've got like the old Vatican looking outfits with the space
Oh,
helmets.
the
that
Daft
was
Punk
so
helmets?
sick.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
House Carino Royal Messengers crowd and all that.
The Daft Punk.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
What song is this? Would be appropriate for this movie? I'm trying to think. I mean, Paul's "We're Up All Night."
Yeah, I was thinking. I was
I know.
right there.
I was
there.
thinking human after all.
How does that one go?
Human, 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 after all, human, human.
Yeah, no, that's so accurate. And then, I mean, without the hardest thing about this movie is going to be like, where do we start digging into lore? So they show up. The people that show up to give the message, they're representing the emperor's house, but they're not a part of it because they are they a part of the corporate class? That's something I read while
Maybe.
looking into.
I can't recall.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the space travel within the universe itself is held by a specific entity, and they're considered the quote unquote corporate class, as opposed to like the political class or the like ideological class, which is the Bene Gesserit, who we'll talk about later.
Yeah, and then after that, I think we meet the Bene Gesserit because the Reverend Mother shows up. They want to test Paul because Paul is a prospect for this prophecy they planted across the galaxy called the Kwisatz Haderach. It's basically a generations-long eugenics program where they would mate a Bene Gesserit woman, person of royal blood. Yeah, they're specifically trying to craft a person that has like the right set of powers and skill set and upbringing that would take over humanity and hopefully lead them into like a golden age or something. So she shows up, gives Paul a test, and he passes, but she's still resentful of Jessica for producing Paul because she was told to produce a daughter, but Jessica loved Leto, so she produced an heir for him.
Something interesting about that is, when you read into it, you understand, and then also she implies it as well. Hey, I do love this guy. That's why I produced an heir for him. But throughout the movie, how often do they have screen time together? I feel like they have very limited screen time together. Jessica and Leto.
Yeah.
And then even when they do have screen time together, it doesn't seem very affectionate. And they always refer to her as his concubine. And it's just like an interesting dynamic to me. I'm like, how much does she love him? Like, it's not like she's fucking falling into his arms, swooning over him. At one point, he's practically lecturing her. And I'm like, but then later I kind of see it before.
He does say that like his greatest regret was not making her his lady.
Yeah, not marrying her.
But the thing is, he was not married to her for alliance reasons, like in case he ever needed to marry like the daughter of another house or some shit, that he needed to be available for that.
Damn.
Because a little bit of a breakdown of the Bene Gesserits. They're more like advisors, but you also could.
They're kind of like space witches.
Yeah, they're advisors, space witches. They're fucking badasses. They can be protectors. They're not like weak at all, as we see later on down the line. But
They are very rarely in danger because they are often the most dangerous person in the room.
But they are also they're. Well, how would you explain? They're the concubine, but then they can be their like partner, as we've seen with some of the others.
So the Bene Gesserit are supposed to advise and guide whatever duke or royalty they are assigned to. So Jessica was supposed to like try and like guide Leto along, and Paul as well, to the Bene Gesserit's goals. Her path was clouded because she loved them like her own family instead of just treating them like avenues of success like the Bene Gesserit wanted her to.
Damn, like how Kim Kardashian treats her family.
Oh. So it's like it's an arranged relationship, work relationship, and sexual relationship. But it's really
No,
I know it's
absolutely
super weird. But for the vouchers,
Something great is what are we calling her? The leader of the Bene Gesserit?
The Reverend Mother.
Yeah, the head witch.
the head bitch.
Professor McGonagall, if you will.
Whoa. No, Professor McGonagall. She's yeah. Don't you?
Who would win? Who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight? Professor McGonagall or the Reverend Mother?
The Reverend Mother. She has the voice.
She has a voice. Yeah, but I feel like you're right.
Yeah,
There's
no,
no way. Yeah, she just like Avada Kedavra yourself.
So when it comes to the voice, though, is it like who strikes first? Like, what if, like, one Reverend Mother, and those two are both going at each other? Is it who gets the first voice off on each other, or how would that work? You know what I'm saying?
These are the questions where there has to be some power scaling.
Who wins? You decide.
Let us know in the comments.
I know. I feel like the Reverend Mother would easily just like have control of the situation.
Yeah, she's a force to be
And
reckoned
it's also
with.
like Superman versus Spider-Man arguing to like, why would they fight each other? The Reverend Mother would just be like, this is beneath me, and just leave.
Maybe, yeah. It'd be pretty intriguing. What's cool is her design. The way they designed her was based off of a tarot card, because apparently the writer of the series, whose name is Frank
Herbert.
Herbert. Did we do it? Nice. We're so good. Look at us. We're professionals. Frank Hubert.
Herbert, I think.
All right. Well, we might butcher it this whole pod and then we don't talk about it. But yeah, so Frank Herbert, he was obsessed with both Terra and chess. And so they based her design off of like the most extravagant looking queen chess piece, as well as like a Terra look to it as well. So I just thought that was fast. Yeah. So they not only an homage to the book itself, but an homage to the original writer. How fascinating they went about that. But what they ended up doing was, like going back to the story, we have Paul meeting the Reverend Mother. He's getting put to the test to see if he's strong-willed, because if he's impulsive, if he's weak-willed, that means he could use his powers and just go on a tirade, be a tyrant. But he puts his hand in this box, and she essentially begins to torture him with all this pain. His mother is standing outside the door, knowing what he's going through, dealing with tears, like emotional trauma, all that sort of thing. But it's insane because you can tell Paul's squirmish at first, but then he just doubles down, like stares her deep in the eyes.
That's fucking so good, Abel. Jeez.
That's
so good.
I know.
I thought it was funny, though, how Paul comes to realize that the Reverend Mother basically, despite what he thinks, holds a much higher position of political authority, because she's commanding Jessica around like she's a fucking servant and using the voice on Paul. And he's like, how dare you order us around in our house? And she's like, bitch, please just fucking do what I tell you to do.
Hell
and it's crazy is that we don't know till a little bit later on. Spoiler is that's his grandmother.
Pretty much.
No, yeah, it really.
You looked to be surprised.
And if not, it's like the great grandma. But yeah, you're absolutely right, grandma. So all right then, it's established. Paul has the gusto. You know, he's a dirty little child who was never supposed to be born, but he was anyways. Now he's developing an understanding of his role in the Bene Gesserit's plan, because I think Jessica does begin to like give him more information on it.
Yeah, she explains a little bit to him. Yeah, I think after that we see them showing up on Arrakis, and there's like a bunch of Fremen off in the distance just chanting, I think, Lisan al-Gaib.
Yep. And
he was asking what that means, and they explain like, yeah, they basically think you're their chosen one. And then I think he points out like, so I see the Bene Gesserit's propaganda has made its way here already. Because the Lisan al-Gaib is basically just the Fremen's version of the Bene Gesserit Kwisatz Haderach.
Damn, good job on these terms, because I would not have been able to. Yeah, it's a great job. And then this double downs on what you were saying earlier, where the Bene Gesserit, they instill themselves in all of these cultures, and they tell them all there's prophesized to be a chosen one.
Yeah, and so whenever the chosen one does arrive, boom, you have like an entire planet's worth of loyal followers ready to go.
Yeah, because he's basically, you know, in our context, and they do call him the Dune Messiah later, but he is the Messiah. He's the second coming. He's he's here to take us to salvation type thing.
Yeah, lead them to paradise.
Since we are visiting Arrakis now, I want to go over a few things that I think are absolutely fascinating. So Arrakis is a giant ass, dusty ass dune desert planet. So, you know, it's fascinating because it's like, how did they build these sets? How did they build a lot of these things? So, of course, there's a portion of the movie that is CGI, phenomenal CGI, might I add. They did an incredible job. It's a team that's been working with Denis for quite a long time, but they filmed when they did the studio scenes, they did that in Budapest. And so a lot of the internal, a lot of the interior designs and everything, that's going to be at a studio in Budapest. Some of the fight scenes where they're dealing with the ornithopters and stuff, that's all done at the studio. They CGI the sand in the background, but they still also use an actual desert. They use the Jordan Desert, which is hilarious because I don't know why it's so funny, but there's a few different places that they filmed stuff there. They filmed The Martian, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Rogue One, Rise of Skywalker. There's another part of that desert that they filmed The Force Awakens and Sonic's 2019. So random as hell. And then Atreides, because since we're leaving Atreides anyways, that was actually filmed in Norway. So they went all over that damn map for this.
Jesus.
Now that I think about it, it definitely looked like Norway.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And then we are getting to Arrakis, and something I want to start pointing out is how fascinating with them, how they're blending the different cultures. So you have the Atreides coming to this place. The Atreides clearly have a Scottish influence because of these bagpipes. But in addition to that, they also have a Spanish influence because Paul's grandfather used to fight bulls, essentially.
I think he died fighting one.
Yeah, it's just so freaking cool to me. And then you show up here, and of course, there's more of like a Middle East feel to it in terms of the garb. But then the freemen are persecuted almost like the Native Americans in America. So it's just so wild how they blend all of these together.
I think I remember reading that basically spice in Dune is supposed to be an allegory for oil in the Middle East.
Yeah, and heroin in the 1990s, fucking A, dude. Why not both?
Dude, he was ahead of the time writing his book because it came out in the 1950s, 1960s. So he already knew.
He had to be writing it. He had to be writing it for years. So he had to be writing in the 50s, publishes it in the 60s, and then becomes such an influential piece because Star Wars came out in the 70s.
77.
Yeah, and we already know that the planet that Luke came from. Yeah, Tatooine was definitely inspired by Arrakis or whatever.
And just like Arrakis, Tatooine used to be a lush green paradise planet before it got turned into a desert hell.
Dude, yeah.
Before the Empire came.
The influence is so heavy here.
Because, no, way before that. Like, Tatooine used to be like a green lush planet like centuries or millennia before. Like, millennia before that. It was like an old war in the Old Republic or something like that.
But I digress. We're at Arrakis now. Great. So we're getting to see these different costumes. Also, they did not win costume design at the Oscars. You know who won that year?
Who?
Cruella.
I could see it. I'll stay.
As in 101 Dalmatians, Cruella beat out Dune for costumes. When you look at this, they built like the battle armor, they built every individual piece to make sure that there's some kind of cultural significance. They built the freaking jewelry and everything, and they lost to 101 goddamn Dalmatians.
They lost to basically like Disney's take on The Devil Wears Prada.
God damn it. The Devil Wears Puppies. Oh.
I can't believe they tried to make a movie where we're supposed to feel sorry for the woman who wanted to wear dogs.
I mean, I'd still hate it though. But she's got that income, bro. I'm trying to get a little passive revenue, if you know what I'm saying.
Watch Poor Things.
Okay, so they get to Arrakis. They're recognizing Paul as like the Messiah. Paul is realizing more and more that, the Bene Gesserit has this heavy influence. It's not long after he does have the argument with his mom, but I think it takes a minute before he starts bitching at her about, I'm just a pawn in all of this, blah, blah, blah. I hate you. I'm not going to eat my dinner.
Way later.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to, jump ahead too much. He has some training scenes, I guess.
Yeah, he has some training. He has a training scene with Gurney Halleck. I like the way he puts it because he says he's not in the mood, and he is like, the fight does not wait for you to be in the mood. It's about survival. You must always be ready. And, oh yeah, there's like this little bit that I just want to point out because it's just like a little important foreshadowing at some point. But when Gurney's walking up, he tells him like, your guard was down. He's like, I knew you were coming. He's like, someone could have imitated my stride. He's like, I know your footsteps, old man.
Yeah. And then he continues to bring that
That
up.
line will pop up 2 more times.
Leto sends Duncan Idaho to go be an ambassador to go.
Talk to the Fremen, live among them, and tell us their ways, and tell them we come in peace.
Yeah, Leto has the right idea. Arrakis, what they were doing was they were oppressing the people. Leto's like, we need them. Like, and also something to note too. You mentioned earlier how Atreides, the Emperor is intimidated by Atreides. They're intimidated by Atreides not only because of Leto's charismatic influence, but also I think of the universe, they have the best military.
Yeah, their military is second only to the Emperor's own.
The Sardaukar.
So basically him and, if he teams up the Fremen, which was not their intention, but if they team up with the Fremen, they can make a play for the throne.
Yeah, also the Harkonnen research reports heavily underestimated the Fremen capabilities, because when Idaho comes back, he says that their sieges number in the thousands of per population. They're scattered all over the planet. The Harkonnens thought there's only
10,000.
a few thousand Fremen. When in actuality there's millions.
So fucking cool. We have a meeting.
They meet Stilgar, the leader of the Fremen, at least the local Fremen.
Okay,
Of
there we
the
go.
South Tribe?
Northern Tribe,
Northern
I think.
Tribe.
Oh, when they have Duncan Idaho. What about Leto's conversation with Paul, where he basically kind of walks him through, one day you're going to be doing what I'm doing, and then Paul's basically saying he's not ready yet.
And he was like, I wasn't ready either, but there's no, great men don't aspire to greatness. They are called upon it, or something like that.
Fucking great, dude. And then not only that, but he says, and if you choose to reject the call, I'll still have everything I wanted, you as my son, kind of thing.
You'll be the only everything I needed you to be.
What on earth? What a good dad. The moment the moment he had that very heartfelt, understanding conversation with them, I'm like, this guy's gonna die. There's no way he's
That was
living.
before they left.
Yeah, but that shit hit me hard. That was really good. I'm like, I'm gonna tell my son that, and then he's gonna see this movie. He's like, you took it from the movie? What the fuck? With great power comes great responsibility. Where did you get that one, Dad? Where did you get that one?
Didn't you once break up with a girl by quoting The Dark Knight?
No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I was like, I'm the boyfriend you deserve, but not the one you need right now.
Of course you did, Eric. Oh, shit.
I was so proud of myself. Oh.
Anyways, we also get to see this little bit of culture shock when we meet Stilgar. He just kind of walks in, commanding the room, gives zero fucks about the guards trying to stop him. Just walks up to Leto's table and just spits right on the floor.
And they're about to attack him.
Yeah, and Duncan quickly tells them this is actually a sign of respect on Arrakis, and then he gives him the whole rundown. He is Stilgar, we thank you for the gracious gift of your body's water, and then he spits, and then then we see Leto spit too, because oh, I guess I have to do this.
Which is funny because we don't ever see them ever do that again. That was just for that one interaction, but that's
I think
never...
it's for meeting off-world diplomats or something. Yeah, they have this conversation about Stilgar asks okay, what do you want? And then he tries to organize this deal saying, we will not bother your people so long as we can harvest the spice. And then Stilgar's as long as you leave my people alone, this is fine with me. And then he points out to Paul that he recognizes him. This is the first time he's ever met him, but he already knows who he is.
Yeah, he says you look familiar, but he says in his
probably seen him in his dreams too.
yes.
They have this deal struck, and you think, all right, everything's gonna go well.
Everything's working out.
Everything's working out just fine. We've established the environment. We've established the characters. Now we're going to have to need some conflict here because we're leaning into Act 2.
We go into the spice mining operation, and it turns out the Harkonnens just left them shit to work with. They'll be behind on spice production. And then they have that local fucking geologist go with them on the ornithopters to go check out that spice miner. She also is Fremen, and she recognizes Paul as possibly being the Lisan al-Gaib.
There it is. Yep. They take the ornithopters out there. So you get a really great opportunity to see Arrakis, you get to see this beautiful CGI landscape, but it looks so damn good. You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Not only that, but as they're showing you clips of the desert, you get these really unique sounds. Okay, so there's something they did in this film was, first and foremost, Hans Zimmer. He was like, we're not doing traditional sci-fi sounding music. We got to take it back. We got to use instruments no one's used before. We have to use sounds no one has tried to do before.
They're just going for like an otherworldly type vibe.
They're going otherworldly, but not necessarily sci-fi. All the sounds and everything they went for, they would go out. They literally took a sound crew into the desert, recorded the sounds of the desert. What they were trying to do, as they put it, is it's as we wanted to make it as if we were filming a documentary on the planet Arrakis and providing that to you. We didn't want it to sound like a sci-fi out of this world thing. It had to be as grounded as possible. And so that's what they went for with all these sounds. So the flap of the ornithopter wings, the sand in the background as they're, yeah, it's like all supposed to be so much care, so much delicacy. The sound was developed throughout the movie. So that way, you know, people could have actual reactions to the sound of a sandworm or things like that, rather than doing it all in post and having to kind of make the sound work for the film. The people worked with the sound, and I just thought that was fascinating.
We got to see Duke Leto being an honorable leader in action, where he saves all the spice miners from the freighter before the sandworm comes and eats it.
We see Paul get a little too high.
Get a little high on spice.
Get a little high on spice.
He starts tripping, starts seeing the future again, and he says the line again is like, "I recognize your footsteps, old man." And then like Gurney comes and snaps him out of it.
Well, for a minute, there's a bit of chaos where Paul's like, okay, if we throw this stuff off, we'll be able to take all the men on each of our ornithopters. They start getting everybody rushing to the ornithopters. Paul's out there, hopped up on Spice, chilling by himself. I was full on expecting them to Home Alone him, and I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? Are they just gonna leave him out in the desert? Is that how he ends up out here? Are you kidding me?" And then luckily, you know, the dad actually did the head count properly. Looks back, he's like, "Where's my son?"
Yeah, no, he's just out there just tripping on spice.
I thought Gurney called it out.
Yeah, Gurney went after him.
Gurney was like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah. Gurney was the Piccolo. He's like, "Hey, where's your son at?" And fucking,
I love that reference.
Yeah.
I love that reference.
There we go. They snatch him. They carry on their merry way.
And then they watch the sandworm eat the giant fucking miner thing, and you see how big the fucking worm is. You barely can really see it in the sand, but you get a sense of scale because we already saw how big the miner was next to them, and then it just engulfs the whole thing.
Yeah, and all of that is thoughtful CGI. So I mean, look what an incredible job they did, guys. Holy
oh man,
crap.
they shot on location. Those real worms are out there. The Alaskan bullworm migrated to Jordan.
Oh yeah, I mean those worms were like, if you look up their acting record, it's like they haven't always been great. Like they had to do Tremors for a while because they didn't have work, but then eventually they did get casted into this. It's probably one of their major roles since Tremors. They were in the original Dune, but no one even remembers those guys.
Yeah.
We also see the doctors, like she's doing that weird prayer as the sandworm
As the worm eats it.
As it eats it, and you start seeing, you start seeing glimpses of their religion, because there also was a scene earlier that we brushed over where Lady Jessica gets a crisp knife from one of her servants.
Yeah.
Who was like, this is, the symbol, because it's one of his teeth, and it's a whole thing. They're very like dramatic about it, but it's because it's a
sacred weapon.
It's a sacred weapon. They're a lot more, as you see, more religious than I think anyone else in the film compared to the other houses and other characters.
Yeah, they're almost fanatical in their beliefs, but so far they're playing nice because they're not sure if they're not 100% sure if Paul really is the Lisan al-Gaib. But some of the more devout ones are definitely coming forward and saying, like, I pledge my allegiance to you. Like, Stilgar thinks he might be the one, but Stilgar is still apprehensive at this point.
So at this point, we've established Leto, great fucking guy. Paul doing a great job following in his footsteps on some of his calls. They've pretty much guaranteed, they're like, this was doomed to fail. They always kind of knew it, but that now they have the proof is in the pudding type deal. And so, I guess they have to kind of formulate their plan and see what their next step is, and no one's gonna, stage a coup or anything. And
yeah, and then we get to see Paul's attempted assassination attempt where that hunter killer drone flies into his room and he's like, he remembers his train. He's trying to be still, not breathing anything. Then the servant walks in and he stops it because it's like motion activated or something like that. And so he destroys it, breaks it, and then quickly deduces that it's a short range drone. So that the operator has to be in the building somewhere.
Dude, so he literally he caught that shit like the golden snitch out of the air. Like seriously, he was just like, wow.
Yeah, it turns out there was a Harkonnen agent entombed in the wall, secretly waiting for them for like the last couple months or something.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months, if I recall correctly.
Whoa.
Some fucking wild ass loyalty.
Okay, so we have the assassination attempt. Where do we go from here?
So then, yeah, Duke Leto is like pretty pissed off. He like orders like security to like start sweeping around for possible more spies and all that stuff. We also, I think we missed a little bit where we go to the Harkonnen homeworld and we get to see that meeting between the Baron, Dave Bautista's character Robin, the Reverend Mother, talking about like what's going on in Arrakis.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, and he explains that this is all going according to plan because Rabin was like, why are we giving them why did we give them Arrakis and all our spies? He is like, the Emperor's orders. When is a gift not a gift? When it's a trap.
When it's a trap. The Reverend Mother as well is there?
So there was like 2 scenes there. There was one with the Baron, Rabin, and his mentor Peter DeVries, the guy who plays the fake cop killer in The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Where Harvey was, playing Russian roulette with him.
Mm-hmm.
It was that guy.
Also, he's the polka dot man in
Yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Damn, nicely done. You guys are good at this. Holy
He really
shit.
does throw polka dots at people. He really does throw polka dots at people.
Yeah. If I just imagine them as my mother, he's like, it makes it easier to kill them. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that one was wild.
I'm a
yeah.
superhero.
I can't wait to do that one. But sorry.
And then, there's another scene where there's the Baron has a meeting with the Reverend Mother, but I forgot what exactly they were talking about.
Dude, the Baron was...
No, sorry, it's the Eric show.
The Baron was
everybody.
creepy as hell. Yep, the Baron was so creepy, though. Dude was so weird. His weird little legs and him floating
You're
around.
body shaming the Baron? Yeah, no, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
In the book, me and Abel talked about this off screen, but the Baron actually in the book is a real piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a little kid diddler too.
He's a diddler. He's a pervert. Yeah, he gets
and he's my best friend.
Yeah. In the book, he's more of like a mustache twirling villain who talks a lot. The movie, it was their idea to make him just seem creepy instead, or menacing.
Yeah, he was.
That raspy voice kills it. My Arrakis, my desert, my Dune.
So when he's meeting with the Reverend Mother, they're going over like the term what they want to be done, the terms of the attack, basically the game plan. And she's
he said that he wouldn't kill Jessica or Paul, and then after she leaves, he is like,
I promised
didn't say I would
wouldn't
kill them.
But the desert.
But the desert takes all, and that's when he says the line.
The desert diddles all.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the Harkonnens, they are going to be working with the Sardaukar, which is the Emperor's army, and they're getting like 2 legions of them, right? Or a legion,
Something like that.
something crazy, and they're paying for it. But yeah, and they're a little bit like, no, we can take him, but the Sardaukar are the baddest of the bad in the Imperium.
Yeah, so the Sardaukar are raised on like this hellscape planet that basically shapes them into be like the most ruthless survivor type Bear Grylls type dudes, where not on top of surviving in these harsh environments, they also have to survive by like fighting each other and just like being bred to be like the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. But the thing is,
if you look at the markings on their outfits, that's blood.
Yeah.
Their
it's kind of like
insignia.
it's kind of like almost like Viking-esque
Yeah.
when you're looking at them.
That's a good way to put it.
Well, the thing is, there's only one planet that's more hellish than their planet. And where is it?
Dune.
Yep.
Nice. Oh shit.
The scale of like badass warriors, it'd be like the Sardaukar and the Furman are right at each other, and then it'd be like House Atreides and the Harkonnen, and that's like skill wise for the best fighters.
And then at the very, very top is Duncan Idaho and Paul Atreides.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. That's so accurate though. Damn, we're gearing up for the big battle then. Shit. I mean, the Atreides, they're skilled warriors. So I mean, they wouldn't take two different armies to jump them blind, right? In order to actually take them down.
Well, it also helped that all their security was down because there was a mole inside the Atreides household.
So disappointing. The mole situation. Oh my gosh. Do we just give it away? Who's the mole?
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
right there.
getting right to that part anyways. Yeah, it was Dr.
Yeah.
Yue. It was
Dr.
basically
Yue.
basically like Paul's personal doctor slash nutritionist, I guess.
I saw that dude never actually pull out a stethoscope, and the moment they said he was a traitor, I was like, "Oh, that checks out." I doubt he was ever actually checking his vitals. He just like kind of touches them. He's like, "Yeah, his heart sounds good." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Nah, just medical advancements in the future. You just need to look at someone and like, yep, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, bro, eat your Cheerios.
So
What are you doing?
Yue betrays the Atreides because he wants to save his wife from the Harkins, but he's also low-key like 90% sure that she's probably already dead. I think he even suggested at some point.
Bro, that shit's the weakest plot element of all of this, and I love this story and everything.
This
but
is the
in
hill you die on.
This is the hill I die on. Is in my opinion, he says, you know, why did you do this? They have my wife. You know, maybe they promised to free her. Maybe he even speculated she might already be dead. Wouldn't he have a better chance at getting his wife back? Of telling the Atreides that there is planning to be a trap, and then they counter trap their trap, and that, you know, I don't know. Anyways, kind of weak. In the events, you know, I already told Kayla when we were watching the movie together, I was like, if you got kidnapped, I would have to take Paul's side. We would try to save you, babe. And I hope that if it's in the reverse, you would do the same for me. Leave me behind. Save Paul.
Save Paul.
Yeah, then she's like, I'm going to marry Timothy Chalamet. And I was like, hey.
So he drugs Paul and Jessica, so they sleep through most of this, and Duke Leto is like coming out to investigate, and then he finds like that servant Fremen woman earlier attacked and dying, dead, I think.
Yeah.
And then Yue attacks him, incapacitate him with like a paralyzing dart or something like that.
Well, and then Jessica and Leto have that one moment where they're actually showing affection to each other.
Yeah,
It's
like
I should have married you, and you know, she's like, I'll put
Yeah,
you
they
to
have that
sleep.
heart to heart.
Yeah, they have that heart to heart, and they're wearing matching pajamas. But then Leto wakes up, sees there's something wrong. Yep, like you said.
Yeah, and he calls security and realizes like none of his security are like responding. And then Yue explains like what's going on to him as he's like paralyzed. Explains like, the Harkins are gonna attack right now, but don't worry, I've taken steps to ensure that Paul and Jessica will be safe. And then he says, this is a poison tooth. When the moment's right, you're gonna bite down on this and you will kill the Baron. Just wait for your opportunity. Just replaces his tooth with basically like a cyanide gas pill or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hands over the Duke to him, and then the Harkonnen attack begins. Just see massacre after massacre going on. Traders are caught with their pants down and shit.
Gurney's being a badass. Duncan Idaho's being a badass.
Leads the fight out into the dark.
Oh, a few little inside details that when I was looking into the thing, the reason why their attack also worked really well, the Harkonnens, is that they were using old school bombers. So they had these, when you see them attacking, they're the bombs that are kind of going through the force fields, those slow bombs. Because there's a scene we kind of overpassed, was that when he's fighting Gurney, when Paul and Gurney are fighting and they're training, they're talking about the slow blade and how it's like, you know, slowly piercing, and that's how you can get through the shield. Well, those bombs, when they're dropping on the Atreides warships, those are slow moving bombs that they weren't really in style for protection.
They're
And so
not fast enough for the shield to stop them.
yeah, so they were able. That's why they were able to destroy that. And it's just like, oh shit! Like, it was a really skilled plan, but no one had seen that coming, or no one could predict them using those weapons. And then Yue, or no, is it Yue? Dr. Yue? Yeah, in the book. So we know that he didn't do it intentionally to be an asshole. Like he only did that for the love of his wife. In the book, it talks when they're talking about that Dr. Yue, it's kind of a pass situation, and they kind of vilified Dr. Yue. And it's like not even millions of deaths or whatever could satisfy the bloodlust that Yue had, but they don't because he just goes down in history as a piece of shit. He doesn't go down as like a husband that lost his wife, that was betrayed.
No one will ever know that he actually saved Paul and Jessica too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the only ones that know that were Paul and Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes down in history as like the traitor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love when he gets introduced to the Baron. He like brings him in. It's the traitor. Even the Baron's
Yeah, now he's just rubbing his face in it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you said I joined my," or he said something like,
"You said you'd set her free and that you could join."
No,
her.
I said you can join her, and then that's when he fucking is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just cuts off his head.
And then all of us eye roll.
Leto starts whispering.
Why did he bring in
humiliation?
Leto? Because the Harkonnens are, I don't think we addressed this, but the Harkonnens are into not humiliation.
They're horny.
No, they're horny. But they're like, what was it when they're into like punching people, and they're psychopaths, but they're into
sadism.
Yeah, they're into that.
Sadism.
The whole race is into that.
Yeah, like Leto being naked was just like a symbol of his powerlessness in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, like he starts mumbling something, and then the Baron's getting like, "What'd you say?" And then he gets closer, but he's still a little like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. So he actually activates his own shield, his own personal shield, because he ain't playing these games. Gets closer, and then the Duke says some badass final words like, "Here I am, here I remain." Bites down on the tooth, releases the gas, and kills everyone in the room. Unfortunately, doesn't manage to kill the Baron. He almost does though.
Yeah,
dude barely survived.
The Baron like face to face with him when he does it, so it's wild to me that he doesn't die
because he had the shield on. Like,
that's why.
Yeah, you see the shield fuzzing out because the poison was trying to get in, and he quickly like backs up and flies into the ceiling.
Mm. Yeah. The weirdo. I love when they show the scene later where he's like curled up on the ceiling.
Yeah, and he sounds like he's gagging or something because he can't breathe or something. He has to take that oil bath to feel better later.
It's a widow oil bath. Fuck, Leto's dead. Sadness.
Yeah.
And then right around Leto dying, I think Leto knew he was going down because he leaves his ring with Paul, doesn't he?
Dr. Yue took the ring and he leaves it for Paul to find. So, like, proof that, like, yeah, your father's dead, but also, like, you are now the Duke.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to look after them. I'm going to take care of Paul, and he takes that, and he leaves. Later on, we see that he leaves his symbol on a bag for them, because Dr. Yue has that diamond on his head.
Yeah.
Diamond symbol.
Oh, you're right. The little scratched in. I remember now.
The Tsunade thing.
That's
Great
when they
reference.
were. Yeah, nice. That's when they were they were stuck in the ornithopter. Basically, they were just going to drop him out in the desert wherever. But then Paul gets the opportunity to use his voice.
Yeah, he tries to use the voice because they didn't gag him because they didn't think he could do it. They gagged Jessica because they knew she could do it. Yeah, she's giving him like hand signals, telling him like what to do, warning him like one of them's deaf. So obviously you need to use the voice on the other ones to kill him. And then gets a little beating down because his first attempts at using the voice weren't working.
I love the way they do that too. He gives them a command. The guy stands up slowly, like maybe he's gonna do it.
Then he just
and then
hits him.
Bap! Whapa! It's like, God
Shut the hell up.
damn.
Yeah, then it gets Jessica free, and then she just completely takes control of the situation and just telling them all to fucking kill themselves.
Dude, it was
damn.
pretty wild that they're basically gonna throw Paul out and they're gonna have their way with Jessica. That was definitely that caught me. I was like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable, but
This is why women choose the bear.
she straight murders them as justified. And then we see the glimpse of Gurney and Duncan Idaho fighting the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens. And Gurney dies, leading his men to war. We see Duncan murking everybody. And actually the fucking Harkonnen.
In the movie, do they show Gurney dying? Because I think I read
the last we see him is he's just running off into battle, and that's the last we see of him in the
that's
movie.
just kind of one of those.
I believe he lives. At least, I believe. I want to believe. Gurney lives.
Don't spoil it too for me if that's the case.
Gurney
Gurney
lives.
lives. We see Gurney go into battle. Duncan scares the shit out of the Harkonnens with how much ass kicking he does, because they let him take the the fucking plane. They're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna mention it. And he's like,
Oh,
and he even
yeah.
calls me out. He's like, you go to hell, dogs. And he's like hitting the sword. And they're like, nope, we're not.
Yeah.
No, we're good. You take it, bro.
Yeah, so let's try and move forward a little bit faster so Eric has time to head out later. We're
Yeah,
getting
do
close to
shit.
we're getting close to noon. Anyways,
So we got Paul and Jessica. They're stuck out in the desert. Right now they're in the Jordan desert. In production, we're talking 115, 100 degree
Jesus.
weather. These guys are out here filming. Also, they have to film with specific lighting. So if they didn't get lighting right, they pretty much just had to call it for the day until the lighting came. So everybody was so tough to be traversing in full outfits and everything. So good on everybody for... Everyone was so tough to be putting up with these conditions. Plus, they were probably all fucking millionaires out this movie. So
they camp out there in the night in the desert, build like a little shelter to try and ride it out. And then Paul's like tripping on spice because there's like spice just flowing in the air inside the tent. And he just starts going mad, having revelations, seeing the future and all this stuff. And he starts having basically like a panic attack because he sees like a future holy war with the Fremen being led under the Atreides banner and all that stuff. A little thing is, in the book, during that scene, he's not just seeing the future, he's also just having revelations of everything that's happened up this point. He's just like, I understand it, everything makes sense now. Because I think it was that scene where he figures out that's the reason why there's no like terraforming or satellites here, is because the Fremen pay off the smuggling guild. Like, it all makes sense. Like, he's just having revelation after revelation after revelation, and Jessica can't keep up with them. She's like, my baby, what's going on? What's wrong with my baby? And he's not listening, or he's just going on and on and on about just everything that's making sense to him finally.
dude's just tripping on shrooms, like straight up, just fucking omnipotent. I think this idea, like he's seeing the future, he sees the past, he also kind of sees, I mean, it goes into detail later, like alternate realities, because he sees
He sees different outcomes of various things.
Yeah, he sees a vision where he's making out with Zendaya, then he sees another one where she's stabbing him in the back. You know, so he's basically, he's got like Dr. Manhattan powers, like mentally, basically, which is insane.
Yeah, but anyways,
He's got Aaron Yeager powers.
Yep. And then they pack up, leave. They try to head out a little more. Duncan eventually catches up to them and takes them to the Fremen hideout siege, and then they're taken in. And then eventually the Sardaukar track them down there. Then we get to witness Duncan Idaho just go out guns blazing, taking down multiple Sardaukar before finally succumbing. And
yeah, dude, some absolute space cowboy action. Just knowing that Momoa did like plenty of his own stunts in that scene, plenty of the choreography. It's just so insane how he's taking down these guys one by one, two at a time. He goes down right when they're cutting into the door. He comes right back up, and stabs him from behind.
I know. Why did he have to yell? He could have murked them all if he just didn't yell. But he's like, It's like, dude.
I know. Yeah, it was so fucking
He's
wild.
lucky they didn't use a laser on him. That fucking laser that was cutting through the door. Like, they could have just zoop.
Yeah,
this ain't that kind of movie.
But I'm saying, yeah.
that's awesome.
No, it's like apparently a meme. It's apparently a meme from Harrison Ford on about Star Wars. Like, whenever people like ask like, "Hey, why didn't we just do this?" and he's like, "It's not that kind of movie, bud."
It's not
Harrison
that kind of
Ford
movie.
with dead ass said that or something.
They did.
Like, just don't think too hard about it.
Luckily, the woman,
Dr. Liet Kynes.
yeah, she leads them to safety essentially.
Yeah, and then she tries to take off on a sandworm, but the Sardaukar catch up to her.
Okay, so that scene I didn't necessarily understand, which at first it was the little sound thing that draws the
Thumper.
The thumper. That's so funny. And I didn't understand what she was doing. I thought she was just using it to like make the worm come attack them or the bad guys.
No, she was
but
gonna
then
ride it.
Yeah, no, Kayla started chanting, "Ride the worm, ride the worm."
No, yeah, she got her hooks out and everything. She was ready to ride the worm off into the distance, but the Sardaukar caught up to her.
So Paul and Dr. Liet Kynes, Paul tells her, like, he's still tripping a little bit, but he tells her, like, hey, I know you love deferment. He kind of tells her, he convinces her to help them out, and that's what she's going to go do. That's why she's calling the worm to she's going to go warn the other great houses.
Yeah, she was gonna go get the other Fremen, because
Oh, okay.
she's still trying to be impartial because she works for the Imperium, but he is like, let's be real, the Imperium's not gonna fucking like side with you after all this.
Then he also shows you,
You're still Fremen.
yeah, and he tells her, he's basically hinting to her like, hey, I am the Lisel Gaib, and hey, like, back us up, and she's convinced, and that's when you see her to go. What happens to her? Does she?
She gets eaten by the worm when it eats her and all the Sardaukar because she calls it after they
Yeah.
stab her. She starts thumping the ground and calls the worm.
So she sacrificed herself basically to get rid of the last of the guys chasing him down.
Yeah.
Then we have, okay, so Jessica and Paul, not to fast forward too much, they don't deal with too much more before they
escape on an ornithopter and it gets caught in a dust storm, and he does his best to pilot it before they eventually crash.
There it is. Oh yeah, that was an exciting scene. At one point, he literally has like,
Yeah. And then they had to run from the desert because a sandworm was coming.
Yeah. Well, no. So he also starts getting hints of his power. It's kind of telling him like, hey, let go. It'll take care of you, and that's when he's starting to hear like, oh, like that his powers are starting to come into fruition.
cool. And then right when it's about the sandworm is about to munch on him, it just chills and looks at them. And I was like, what kind of fucking power is this? But then somebody had a thumper somewhere, right?
Yeah, and it calls off the worm.
Yes. So they got lucky.
And that was because the Fremen were nearby, because they walk through the rocks for a little bit before they run into the Fremen. He quickly concludes like one of them must have called it off, I think. And then we get into this weird situation where like Stilgar is ready to take him in. Jamis is kind of really not about it, and then devolves into this whole ass argument. They kind of fight for a sec, and then like they're taken aback by the fact that Jessica quickly disarmed and got Stilgar to yield, and Fremen lead by might, so Stilgar is supposed to be like their best fighter, and then she just deals with them quite easily.
Yeah, they did not think she had hands, dude.
Even Paul like fucking knocked out Janice and like two other Furman, and fucking just was gonna start blasting away with his gun, but Zendaya's character.
Yeah, but Chani was waiting for him. Yeah, so they all agree to like, all right, we cool, everybody cool. But then Jamis was like, hey, that bitch fucking beat you. You know how our way works. So like, I will not follow an outsider, so I challenge her to combat. And then Stilgar says that they cannot directly challenge a quote-unquote weirding woman, which is basically what they call a Bene Gesserit. So he says like she is not eligible to be challenged, and she is also not our leader. And so
She's also pregnant too.
yeah, Paul says he'll fight in her stead. So Jamis and Paul decide to fight.
And before we elaborate on that, previous vision that Paul had was of that man as like an ally, but now he's head to head with
He's
him.
firmly a foe, firmly an enemy of his.
It's showing the like all AU stuff. Also, when I liked what you were doing there though. When Jessica has Stilgar, she's basically telling everybody else like, now tell him to be cool, bitch, be cool.
Yeah, it was at that point where Paul starts to realize he's not just seeing the future, he's seeing possible futures, because he's like, wait, I thought this was all going to play out differently. He was so hesitant to kill Jamis because he was like, one, he's never killed before, and two, like, when he first sees Jamis in his visions, he saw him as a friend, so now he's like, I gotta kill my friend?
Ooh, and then I love this as it breaks down. Dude, he like you're a little unsure, like, is Paul gonna do well here? They do set him up there. He's getting trained by Gurney, he's getting trained by Duncan. They're the leader of the Atreides armies, which is one of the best armies in the universe. And so seeing him go head to head with this guy, and like in a matter of seconds, knife to the throat. Check.
Yeah, Stilgar even asks Jessica, he was like, is he toying with them? And she's like, no, Paul's never killed a man before. And you slowly see Jamis just starting to get more and more pissed off because yielding is not the way of the Fremen. They fight to the death. Paul has to kill him.
Starts yelling all crazy. Ah!
Yeah.
And then
and he eventually does kill him.
Paul does it. He does the old slip by stab you in the back maneuver. The old faithful, the old 1-2 stab.
Yeah.
The old why, not in the spine.
You slowly start to see Stilgar starting to believe in Paul a little bit more after this all happened.
And then Chani, is that her name?
Yep.
Chani.
Chani. She didn't believe in him. It was kind of like
she's skeptical as fuck.
It was funny the way they do it because, it's a relatively serious movie. But when she says, well, how does she put it? Where she's like, oh, no, I don't think that you can defeat him.
Jamis will give you a quick death.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny.
She's like so sure bro is gonna kill him.
Yeah.
She's like, it'll be an honor for you to die by his blade. And he's just like, motherfucker.
Yeah, that was great. But they proved themselves. Stilgar accepts them and continues to accept them. And then,
Yeah, they head off back to their siege.
well, Jessica wants, what Jessica wants is she knows that the Freemen have ways to get off world. Fremen have.
He said it like 3 times. I'm just like, I'm not gonna.
Okay. So basically, the Morgan Freemans have ways to get off world with smuggling operations. So Jessica's like, take us off world so that way we can do something about this. And then Paul stands up, and this is where you start to see Paul have like a little crazy look in his eye.
Yeah, he's going full Lisan Al Gaib. He is like, no, we have everything we need here.
Yeah, he was like real confident after he stabbed that guy. He's like, I got the taste of blood. Everyone's got to listen to me now. And then what? Do they do the scream one more time at the end of the movie or what?
Yeah, right. As they're like walking, the sun's setting. Paul has that smirk on his face because he's already formulating plans in his head, like what he wants to do for revenge against the Harkonnens. Like very, very tiny spoiler, but in the beginning of Dune Part 2, like Jessica asks him like, your father would not have wanted revenge, and he is like, yeah, well, I do.
Ooh. And then the movie starts to fade out, and then they do the scream.
That's fucking great.
It's so wonderful. And that is Dune Part 1.
Oh yeah, and I just also want to leave at the little bit where we see that the Baron is totally fine. He's chilling in his oil hot tub. Raven's giving a report, and he asks if Paul and Jessica are dead, and he is like, no one can survive that storm, and he is like, whatever, get spice production back up.
Mm-hmm.
He was all right.
They're
cool,
slept
it's done.
on now. Holy crap.
Yeah, they're in the clear as far as the Harkins are concerned. They don't think that Paul and Jessica are alive.
There was a scene that I was rewatching, and I just realized when Duncan and Paul are talking, and it's just right before Duncan goes and visits the Freeman, or the Freeman, as
Morgan
Eric would
Freeman.
say, the Morgan Freemans.
Have you been putting on a little muscle? Huh? No.
When they're talking, and he's saying that I see you dying and all that stuff, and Duncan's like, no, you're tripping, blah blah blah, I'm handsome, blah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna die.
You see the Sardaukar, and we don't really see them till later on, but it was kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, they do show the actual scene. Like, he sees the Harkonnen, but he never saw the Sardaukar uniforms, or he didn't realize what they would look like. I thought that was kind of like, that was interesting.
So it's kind of a plot hole in the book. The Sardaukar show up in Harkonnen uniforms, so they didn't realize the Sardaukar were helping them until the Atreides got into battle with them, and they realized like these have to be Sardaukar warriors because the Harkonnens are not this well trained. But in the movie, the Sardaukar are blatantly in their own uniforms.
And another plot hole that bugged me is spice is the only way of intergalactic flight, or for them
Ice Spice,
ice spice for space travel. But how the fuck did they get to that planet and discover that? If that's the only way through.
Dun.
No, I think they probably invented space travel prior, but then like Arrakis's spice basically like advanced like the ability to do so.
You ready for this one? So, as far as I'm aware, they have the capability of space travel, but the primary issue they have is faster than navigating when they do faster than light operations.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this is a spoiler, but they basically have humans in tanks that just are hopped up on spice all the time, and they're basically like super powered mentats that can navigate. They can navigate the universe.
The best way I heard it put was a meme where someone said like Dune makes a lot of sense when you realize that space navigators are just so fucking high on spice they can see the future.
Yeah.
Damn, so they use
crackheads
to guide them.
Basically, that's basically what it is.
See, that's where we're messing up here in town. We need to be using them.
Yeah, you just need like 8 crackheads on like a bobsled.
Bro, you got that spice on you?
Hey, oh no, yeah, like on a bobsled, like navigate the roads.
Yeah, little spice at the front of it. All right, ready? You guys ready to go?
Pipe.
They all look like greyhounds because they're all okay. That's fucked up. It's running. That's wild. Let's run through the rest of the episode. PapaNasty, this was your movie, so you got to ask us.
Ask you guys what? No. Do you guys vouch for me?
I vouch for you.
Yeah, dude, I vouch for you. This is a good movie. I'm looking forward to the second one.
He vouches for him. I vouch for him.
Well, and Eric, what's your end take on this?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's going to happen in the second one, but here's some predictions. Paul's going to start getting hopped up on spice, and then he's just going to be like really fucking angry and just start yelling at people and, murdering people. But people are still going to follow him either out of loyalty or out of fear. And the mom's going to die, and she's going to say, no, I mean, now I know the thing where you said, your father never wanted this. That's true. Damn. I hope Zendaya stabs him or something, but I doubt that's going to happen. But all right, then. Kill, watch, marry.
I'll marry.
Marry.
Kill, watch, marry. I'll marry. I almost bought this movie just for the special features because I was trying to see what the fuck was going on.
I want to go buy the double feature pack if that's a thing.
It is. They have the two. They have it at Walmart right now, but I don't know if it's Blu-ray. So that's the only issue at hand. But yeah, I think you had.
How dumb do you feel sleeping on this film?
Super dumb.
How fucking crazy, right? I felt so stupid, not looking more into this.
Yeah, I remember way back when I brought up this movie to Eric and I told him it was sick and he didn't seem interested in watching it.
Yeah, I really didn't.
I don't want to watch it, guys, because I'm fucking too busy masturbating. I don't know. That's a bad Eric impersonation.
Yeah,
It's something.
I know.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's
No.
I guess the Sand Planet. It was one more sci-fi take on things, but I didn't realize.
Now you realize it's the sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
No, the gravity of it.
Watch your fucking
the
mouth.
scenes are beautiful. The people are beautiful. The story's beautiful. It's well
Paul's
thought
beautiful.
out. Paul, yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah. Everybody in that film could get it. Dave Bautista. Pow, pow, pow.
Bang bang.
Next on plate is Dune Part 2. We'll be doing that next week. We'll definitely plan some time for that. It's going to be cool because we covered a lot of production. And so I'm sure there's some Dune 2 production that'll be worth talking about. But for the most part, we got to just talk about the exciting story. And then once we finish Dune Part 2, we can actually start posting episodes.
Cool.
So
Nice.
hey, Vouchers, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We can't wait to see you in Part 2. Gentlemen,
Love you guys.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Love. See ya.
see you later. Here's a
Love
little
you,
smooch.
you little vouchers.
All right. Thank you, guys.